going on, everybody? My name is Terminus, and we're here for Made in Abyss, episode 3 of season 2. We're just gonna get started, right? We're just gonna get it down to business. We are arriving at the place to be. And we're exploring it. Like this has adventure vibes, right? This has clear adventure vibes. We're going through a new environment that is very, very cool looking, right? Lost places, overgrown by nature, which is a very fascinating concept in and of itself. And then we have the new intro, which episode 1 didn't have it, of course, but it had the lyrics at the end of the thing. So, what do I do? How do I do that with the intro? I can't look at it immediately, but we're gonna just jump through it a little bit. I love how the star compass looks now. It has kind of like an effect going around it, which is very interesting, and I do wonder if that has some kind of meaning. And then we're kind of zooming into this this whole thing with us arriving at our new old whatever, our new primary or secondary character here, Rico looking back. We had that last time a little bit, watched through it, kind of the repeating a lot of the shots, right, drawing the parallels between the original Adventurers party and who Rico, like what Rico and Rek went through. I do love Rico's new hairstyle. I do love all of the new weird creatures that we're looking at that have the most interesting designs. We still have Liza in the intro, which I absolutely love. The question is, I mean, we're still seeing her kind of looking back and not seeing her eyes, so I do wonder if this is a hint at us probably not meeting her in this season, because that could be it. We're still chasing after her, right? But yeah, new relics, new places to discover. Amazing shot. I mean, look at that shot. You have the waterfall on the one hand. We do have that narrow little bridge with a lot of like stones inside of it, but also natural formations, and you do have the grass sprinkled on top of it, just overgrown. And in the background, there's the first layer with the archway. That's kind of very interesting as a framing device on the left side, with the waterfall on the right side, and on the outside you do have the backdrop, which is very open, but also very lit up, so we don't see a lot of what's happening, but we see that circle of a structure. It almost looks like a halo kind of thing, right? What is it? So we asked ourselves, what holds it up, right? What is there anything that's holding it up? And we don't know. And then we have the parallel downstairs, right? It's not clearly like one-to-one parallel, but we do have in the background this cliffside that's going in the same arch, in the same kind of like curvature kind of as the archway up above. So we do have that interesting visual parallel going on. And it's the same here. We make our way through very open spaces, but also through very closed-in spaces, the caves and kind of pillars that look partially natural and partially kind of just picked out of the stone. This particular shot, it's not as white, but it reminds me kind of like if you look at the Lord of the Rings, when you see they're going through the mines of Moria, and you have all of these pillars in that grand hall. And this kind of like reminds me of these like cliffside towns and yeah, houses that are kind of built inside a cliffside in America that I've seen once in a picture. But yeah, fantastical creatures that look absolutely majestic and amazing. Very interesting with just the snout, even, that you don't see that too often in real life or even in concepts and whatnot. And we do have the monsters guide from Liza, where we get a little bit of help about just the general survival stuff going on. We have to flee from the gas, or from the natural gas vents that are exploding on a regular basis. And then we have the whole conundrum of, like, after a little bit of a cooking session, we just relax a little bit and talk about different things that Nanaji doesn't know, and I'm sure Nanaji also relayed her own information. I think it's really cool that they want to send a message, and Nanaji is kind of like low-key an artist, so it's really neat. They're even holding hands here, which is very, very true to nature, and we have Menya up on Riko's helmet, a very cute picture. And they're trying to send it up, but they got issues, right? Because it gets intercepted, so I guess they have to send one again at some point. Again, the way this, right? This looks like a wave, an ocean wave actually exploded on a cliff, right? And kind of burst apart, and in that very moment it was suddenly turned to stone. It's such interesting shapes and forms that we have, but it's not just that way since season 2. It's been that way in season 1 as well, where we had the Forest of Temptation, like the entrance of all of that, when we just skirted on the outlines of the 4th layer, and we're like, holy shit, this is like all of these cliff sides and these stone structures that are going inwards, like some kind of strange creatures or pathways that are leading in there. And here we have the same, with just very interesting looking environments all throughout. When we go back to when we talked about when we talked about masking and all of that, like these interesting backdrop environments that are really, really good. And one of you actually said that when we also talked about Studio Ghibli and possibilities there, and I was like, okay, there was somebody who worked on the Ghibli on Ghibli stuff, so it makes sense that they would be maybe gravitate towards something like Made in Abyss, where the environments even in the manga are super, super detailed and super interesting looking and have a lot of intricacies and whatnot. And one of you said that yes, there was this artist that was actually working on the backgrounds in Ghibli, who is working on, or was working on, Made in Abyss, at least in season 1, and I can pretty much imagine that they stayed on the project. So yeah. And we have like, they stole our whistle and left the sign, so we have to go after them, I guess. New challenges, new people to meet, new interesting creatures and whatnot. We're obviously still relying on very much on Nanaji's knowledge, on Riko's knowledge, on Rex's physical capabilities and his sense of smell and all of that. We follow the trail, and that's a weird practice, just removing the hair and putting it into something to just leave a clue. Very, very strange. And very creepy as well, right? If you think about it, you slept there and somebody was actually there and was cutting your hair off and whatnot. It looks like it's very interesting because like a lot of the environments in the first couple of layers in Made in Abyss seemed very much jungly to me, right? Like exotic. This one looks more like deserty, right? Like it has kind of a desert quality to it in many places. There's or savanna. There's sparse greenery going around. It fills everything, right? The greenery fills everything, but there's a lot of sand, there's a lot of rays of sunlight, right? A lot of heat coming in here, although we don't know if that's like the actual rays of sunlight that are being reinforced by the force field and kind of put down here, or if there's another source for that light. But definitely very deserty, very... This shot in particular, once again, I get like Nier Automata vibes from this, like lost civilization, overgrown old ruins. We do have these cool angles, once again, with the this shot from upward, as if I'm a bird perched up on some like kind of little cliffside, and looking down upon them going through that tunnel, through that archway. And you have that little the interesting pieces that make that shot not just a standard generic shot, which is the little pieces of nature here and there, the moss, and the roots that are growing down here, and then you have that one eye catch, which is in the lower quadrant here, which is this little bridge, natural stone bridge that's going past that. And we do have that also for sense of scale, right? How high up are we? How big are they in comparison to that? And Yeah, it makes the shot very interesting. Speaking of interesting shots, looking like a tree, looking like a cliff or a stone bridge, looking like pieces of buildings inside of it, and looking like a vertebrae, all of that, and looking like it's been spludged over by actual paint. So like somebody just went through there and splashed paint everywhere. Amazingly interesting, especially if you look at like this entire thing is a cave. In the middle of the cave is just a fucking giant tree, and with like a weird ground effect, and you have a lot of fog clouds going around. And once, like a second later, when they look up, they actually see that there are creatures flying above. So there's an open sky kind of ish. This is where the sunlight comes from. There's so much that kind of goes into the actually planning a shot like this, where you have the sunlight is up above, there's the cave around, and there's the ground, and you actually have to put the things into place, especially with the lighting and whatnot, to actually represent that properly. Again, this is almost like out of a picture book. And like I said, the veil, we saw now that it's kind of like a force field-ish thing, but the veil kind of looked on a visual level like the thing that Nanachi had when she had Midi's room, right, where there was like a little bit of a veil between her and Midi's room to kind of separate the rooms, and there was like little doodads hanging from it. But yeah, we make our way into this environment, and here we have the giant flying creature. Like, look how big those creatures are, right? They're a little bit above, and if you compare them to the size of the tree trunk that is right in front of us here, it's insane how big they are. So, yeah. And they're trying to mask either their scent or their visual thing, like that, so the creatures don't get them, or right. And we have the person who probably stole the things from them, or maybe a person who is kind of connected to the people here in the little village, I want to call it, watching them from a little bit further off and following them. Yeah, Reg being afraid once again, which is very, very adorable. We have this weird structure in the middle of the town, which is like a large bulb just growing out, and it looks kind of like it's a tree or some form of plant that got painted over. Once again, painted over. It's just so weird. I wonder if it's natural or if that is something that they actually did, right? The villagers kind of just put it down there to make it a little bit more nice or friendly, or kind of just paint it in their own style of what they want. And we see that the transformations are very weird. We have a puppet-ish automaton kind of thing here, which is very inhuman and robotic. But we also have a lot of other creatures that look very different from what we've seen until now. That's kind of the episode in general. I don't have a lot to talk about other than just our characters are going their general path. They still have the same characteristics that they had before. We're encountering new things. We're kind of in an area, like in an arc or in a storyline that kind of focuses on exploration at the moment. Back then, when we were at episode 13 or 12, 11, we had more character development, right? And the movie too. Character development for Nanachi, character development for Riko, especially too, like especially in the movie, but also when she was recovering from her injury. Character development for Reg on some level, not quite as much, but enough to kind of like him reflecting on a couple of things, and also just being very unlocking more memories, which is very important, and kind of also displaying more mysteries with what we saw in the movie, with Reg unlocking that form and kind of having like multiple consciousnesses inside of him, whatever that ends up being in the end. But the intrigue we have here is now new environment, new stuff happening, new people to meet, and also what is happening with the whistle, and why did they steal it, why did they, right? And also, why did they leave a hint? Because obviously somebody wanted them to come here. So be that person that was actually watching them, wanting them to come here, right? That can be a different thing, right? The person who stole the whistle can be another person, like can be a separate person from the one who actually is following them and the one who left the actual hint. It doesn't have to be, right? It would make more sense if it was the same person, but it can be. There could be different factions or different people kind of involved, and they all have their own motives, but we're gonna find out probably in this episode, so I'm very, very curious about that. Okay, before we move on to the reaction, there is 2 versions of this reaction. We do have the edited reaction here on YouTube, or we do have the picture-in-picture version of the reaction down in the description below. Choose whatever you like. Watch it, and please come back for the discussion later on. I also do have various things that I want to put your attention to, kind of. I do have a Discord server that is not very populated as of now. I would really love for you to join if you want to. Just talk about anime, talk about games, talk about all kinds of media, even science if you want to. There's a couple of people in here who did different things, right? Or do different things with university and college and whatnot. I'm sure we can find some very interesting discussions about literature, media, and whatnot, everything beyond that as well. I do also have a Patreon if you want to check that out, if that's something for you, like early access tiers and shit like that. Check it out, check out what the tiers are and whatever. There's some cool stuff on there. There's also polls going on every once in a while. When I do a new series, there's going to be a poll. And other than that, I would really appreciate it if you liked the video, if you did enjoy it, and if you subscribe so you can get more of my content down the line. But let's go into the reaction now. That episode 3 of season 2, Made in Abyss. It's gonna start in a 3, a 2, a 1. Bang. I think I like the song actually better than the first one. Bro looks a lot like 𝐏𝐢𝐏, actually. I love how they managed to make the shots very similar but also slightly different. Still, the symbolism is still not clear to me, but it will become so probably. The more we go into the season, the more we find out. The village of the Hollows, yeah. I mean, not Hollows, I know it's not Hollows precisely, but it's the people who are changed by the Abyss, right? They're kind of sludging over the window. Wonder if some of them can actually not talk or are not sane enough to, or don't have the intellect anymore. Yeah, this is a protected area. I thought so. It's insane that all this time they were just going downwards. Yeah, so it's a little bit harder to tell if they're in danger. I thought so too. Sana. Yeah, where are the other white whistles? That's the question. Are we gonna meet Wakana or 𝐸𝐸𝐹? All of this shit reminds me of Hollow Knight. Oh. No, he's gonna refine it. He's gonna break the shell. How can you tell? Okay. That's... It gives sound to a life's will. Your worth. Right? Yoroboro. All these foreign words, right? But We have to kind of put it together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Ooh. Ah, holy shit, so he's not, or it is not just made out of this body, it's like just made of smells? That is an interesting concept. Like, that is an acid trip. I mean, this whole show is an acid trip, but... And it seems like to be some kind of market. Things and not things, huh? Well, probably a subjectively described value. Ah, okay. A lot of them came down here, huh? Maybe with some of the white whistles. Whoa, interesting. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Oh. Ooh. Creepy. Oh, reasonable, right? Even if it's creepy as fuck. Hmm. Yeah, it's the same symbol. So stealing is a crime for them. So they didn't steal the whistle. Yeah, I feel like maybe they see it as a duty of themselves to kind of refine the whistles. Ooh, okay. Cat lady. It was just it was a joke, okay? It was a joke. Subjective. But with permission, right? With permission. Oh, that is interesting. Oh, so they physically cannot leave it? Oh, okay. Community. Okay, so ignore the old ritual side. Powerful desire protected you. Okay. You look hungry. I'm not sure. No, don't hurt. What the fuck did you do? Holy shit. Can they serve her? Ooh.
しばらく晴れるぞ。
それの価値は
メイネはそういうんじゃない。
決められないほど高い。
そうだよ。
ああ、生産が始まる。
Balancing. Okay. Huh? It doesn't look good. Is this prison? Punishment? Or death?
物は自分の持つ価値を上回る価値に傷をつけた。
Ooh.
貯めてたものか
Okay.
釣り合うまで生産終わらない。
And what if they don't have anything to give? Right? What if they have nothing to give?
ナナチ、大丈夫か？なんでもね。
住人たちのよくわかってる。に変えられたものは永遠に失われる。みんなそれ知ってるから。
A system, right? A law system.
やめさせられないの？
村の守り強くてカジャでは何もでき。
Alright, so it's outside of their control.
実は生産しなくてもよかったぐらい低い。
そうじゃないけど。
Yeah, right. What happens if there's nothing left to give?
体の買い手は多い。中身の
ことが罪ならよ、プルシカの件はどう申し開きするんだ。
起きたことは村の力でま。
Oh, okay. Convenient.
お前らじゃないと。何？
それ君のものだよ。
私これ受け取らなきゃダメ。
あれないよ。価値は君にくっついてる。こと人の食事も困らない。
We have the same theme with, like, with Prushka, right? At what price?
さっきので皆に知れた。傷つけてくるのいないと思うよ。
宿を探してるんだ。参ったな。ハニースク？モディ？ハニースク？モディ？ハニースク？あ？ハニ？カンバース。
エイブメンね。
おお、そうしたのか。リコ、なんで知ってんだ。寝床と食事って時。
Okay, okay. Observant, as always.
おめえすげえな。こういう時は言葉わかんなくても焦らず伝える心構えこそが大事なのよ。うちの個人観光ガイドもやってたからね。私はそんなに上手じゃなかったけど。
I hope this doesn't have any twists.
出られる状況でもねってのはあいつが一番わかってんのかもな。
I mean, there's nothing you can do about this. It's a different culture, it's a different environment, right? You can't just scream bloody murder about something that's the law here or the rules.
お宿を借りたいんですけど、私とレグ、ナナチ、あとメイニャ。どういくらなのかわからない。あとご飯もこのお金使うの気が引けるな。
Gotta survive.
世にも安全な場所が必要だぜ。おお、
Spacious.
これがご飯。
Just because there are flies around doesn't mean it's bad.
結構いけるじゃん。
I was about to say.
大丈夫なのか。大丈夫。ナナチご飯みたいに味もどし型なのは珍しい。アビスの旅は一期一会なんだから。
Rico and her attitude, I don't believe it. Oh.
大丈夫。こういうのは早めに壊しておいた方がいいのに。
I mean, even if it is good for the locals.
で見た光景だ。おそらく犯人 イラはメイニャとリコの体に良さそうなもん探す。なんだ、妙に慌ただしいの。
Ooh. Monster attack?
この騒ぎは一体何事だ。
レキとファプタ、カジャも見に行く。
Fapta. I heard that name before.
いつも
Not in the series.
ファプタ、価値の毛
Embodiment of value.
けて決して滅びない。
Oh, okay. Will never perish.
あの書き置きを残したやつなんじゃねえのか。
Mm-hmm.
行こう、ナナチ。待って、残すのは不安だ。偵察は頼んでいいか。了解した。
Alright, just split up.
気で知らせる。油断するなよ。判断に迷ったら必ず引き返せ。
I like that.
タコはしてうなってんだよ。
ハーディマ、それいけない。カジャ、人の子の価値を落としたくない。
な水と果物売ってるとこ知らねえか。
案内す。でもカジャ、ファプタに会いたい。
Okay. Alright, let's see what's happening with Fapta. Rex still with just one arm. Oh, and they can't leave the force field, of course. Oh, and that's that automaton thing.
どういうやつなんだ。
たか。身分の高い女性。
Ooh, high status, okay. Princess, right?
そう。姫。慣れ果ての姫。
Looks kind of like I mean, I know it's her, right? We've talked about this last episode. It looks kind of like almost like birdish.
何か質問してる。
我々はガンジャ、黄金鏡を目指しやってきた決死隊だ。彼の反応から意志を探ろうとしている。
いいねいいね、知恵感じるじゃん。行ってこいってことかな。
ケオ、
Explorers in a new world. Wow. And what a sight it is.
環境だ。
Nature's harsh.
冒険でやっとたどり着いたその場所で私たちはまだ生きる術を見つけられずにいた。
Unable to find a way to survive. Okay, so we get piecemeal. We get little by little things that Fapta here and the others went through on their journey. And we have the narration, of course, of our new protagonist that we still don't know the name of, or I don't know it. By this time, maybe you've written down something in the comments and I can actually say something next time on the name. The English is a little bit weird, but I really like the animation and the instrumentals of this ED. Looks like kind of like a beating heart, right? And then we're bursting apart. Connections like vines or neurons. And now we're starting with the red, or in this case white string of fate. Reminds me of like Kimi no Nawa, where we have that sequence, that kind of LSD-ish sequence of the red string of fate going through times, and then you're seeing these scenes, which is really cool. Ooh. Friend. Alright. And once again, we don't have a map, right? Which, very cool, very cool. So we're basically stumbling in the dark. I do wonder if that will continue, or if there's gonna be something down the line where we're like, okay, now we have more of an idea of where we are and what area we're in, or if we can go even deeper, right? Because of course we have to go deeper, right? Well, yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys, well, you guys who are watching the pip, I'll see you back on YouTube for the discussion portion of all of that. So, without further ado, let's fucking do this. Alright, let's talk about it. I don't think there's all that much to talk about. I'm sure we find something, but you know. It's a lot of like just feeling yourself into this world and exploring at the moment. I still don't know this thing's name, not gonna lie. But apparently this area is actually protected from the curse, much like the area that Nanachi was in before, the house that she was in. I do wonder in which way that works and how that is constructed. If this is something of a physical phenomenon or if it's more supernatural. You see there is some kind of force field, but whatever it is, our main force field doesn't exist here. Nanachi doesn't know why either, but it's very interesting because it's gonna be difficult for Nanachi to see danger coming in this case, and since Nanachi's been relying on it for a very, very long time, I can imagine that it's really hard to not rely on it in situations where you don't have it available, right? So that's in a way like using your normal sense of hearing or smell or whatever, and suddenly it's gone and you can't properly use it. So things that you normally pay attention to, that normally immediately fall into your observation, that's gone. So you have to compensate for that. It's going to be stressful, and it's going to be a little bit anxiety inducing too. But yeah, we talk a little bit about how the hollows here are probably somewhat sentient and intelligent. And we make a little reference to Dawn of the Deep Soul, where we talked about curses and blessings, and these are blessings in a way. It's like, I hope it isn't the work of those white whistles. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of fucked up, most of the white whistles, aren't they? So, very, very funny. But yeah, we're refining here, and once again, this reminds me of Hollow Knight, where, for example, the mask maker, right? Or when you have the blacksmith refining your weapons. So there's apparently the stone that is around it is not its natural form, and they are kind of seeing it as their duty or as their pleasure to refine all of that. And they're shocked at first, of course, but somehow Riko feels that Brushka doesn't mind that. It's very interesting. How does she know? But yeah. It gives sound to a life's will. Interesting. The will of life, right? A musical instrument. Upon becoming instruments, stones get stronger and their precision increases. Precision? What do you mean with precision? Maybe that's a weird way to, like, that's a weird translation? Because we see a couple of stones here, right? Maybe they're not refined yet. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense then why this white whistle looked a little bit different than, let's say, Bondrud's or Liza's. But even then, we don't. I mean, we saw in the intro how it's probably gonna look later, and we assume that it's probably gonna be enhanced in its abilities. I do hope that they find a way to barter or get that thing back, because they have a little funny rule where it's like stealing is a crime, but if it happened outside the village, it's none of our business, which is very convenient, I guess. Strange creatures all around, right? Strange creatures. Majikaja is that creature's name. Very, very appropriate, I'd say. I don't know what it means, but it feels very, very much like it would fit this kind of shape. Nice smelling fluffy one. This body is a vessel. Kaja's body is made of smells. Very, very interesting. So Kaja's form that happened after they transformed from the curse of the abyss is actually made of smells. There's not like odors in the air, right? Lighter than air, and they put themselves together a vessel, like a mechanical vessel. Kaja wanted a body, not a vessel. Very. I can't pick everything about that apart. Maybe you guys and girls have more insight on that. But we stumble upon a marketplace, and everything here can be traded. You just have to trade value, right? And for everybody, they say that later, for everybody value is different, right? What is the value of the thing that you desire the most, and then everything, and the thing that you desire the least, that you want the least, and then you have that whole spectrum in between. Very subjective, much like psychological surveys, for example, that are often being separated in very subjective categories, right? If you ask somebody, how do you feel about this situation, and then it's like, I hate it, I love it, and everything in between, everybody's gonna say, like, everybody's gonna have a little bit of a different connotation and also different kind of answer tendencies when they are answering questions like these. This is not a clearly defined, quantified kind of answer. It's a semi-quantified answer, and as such, the value of something is very subjective to the beholder. But it's not that different with money, right? The only difference is that money is a general global agreed upon system, and how valuable something is mostly determined by how much the people, like how many people would like it and what they would give for it, right? How many hours of work do you want to put into getting X, Y, Z? And if enough people would be willing to put in a lot of hours of work for something, it's worth a lot, even if that thing itself might not be worth as much as people think it is, or if it doesn't give them the desired effect that they hope they get from having or possessing this kind of thing. And we talk a little bit with the locals. Rico actually discovers that one of Liza's notes is here, which she wanted to have, and Machikaja opens up and is like, yeah, I would like to have a very much alive and unharmed children's body, for whatever reason, children being very much valuable. Then again, I mean, I can also think of not nefarious reasons why they are valuable. Especially if you, at least not super evil. If you think about, for example, all of these creatures having desires related to bodies and modifications and whatnot, and maybe somebody else wants a vessel that is a child that it can grow up in, right? And none of these people are humans anymore, so I would assume there's some inherent value just based on curiosity or interest or sentimental value that is being attributed to something like a human body, especially a young body that can be somewhat used for a long time or influenced or whatever you can do. So I can really see how this would be a valuable thing, but this system is very interesting. I'm not for sale. I'm going to the bottom of the abyss. And it's like, oh, well, that's a shame. I will give up then. Which shows us that they are civilized. They might have strange customs, maybe even some things that we think is morally wrong or weird, but the difference here between them and then criminals or evil people, whatever you see as evil, like the conventional thing that we understand as evil or cruel or horrible or monstrous, the difference here is that they respect other people's values, right? They respect if you value yourself more, right? If you're not willing to give yourself for something specific, then it's worth more, and they're like, okay, you know what, it's not for sale, that's fine. So it's a very logic-based system here. Rika wants to maybe buy with her hair or nail clippings or whatever, and we notice that the symbol is the same as the Faputa, probably Faputa, who left the hint earlier, the note. And we're kind of making our way through. We find out that everybody places a value in different things. Are here being surrounded by a lot of little things, passing tubes through you, chopping people up, but with consent. So very, very nice, very civilized. It's like, okay, you want to get chopped up? I would really appreciate that. But yeah. Yeah, and they choose to become hollows here because they didn't have a place to stay. When we offer up our lives and turn into hollows, we become bound to this place and cannot leave. Can actually physically not leave. We see that later. But in exchange, we will receive protection and a body in line with our desires. So the body that they receive is not a body that, that they change into after they've gone through the curse and whatnot, after they become hollows, but rather they are here and they're like, okay, please, we stay here, we remain here, we obey the laws, and as a result of that, the benevolent being of this place, be that a guardian, a deity, whatever, is giving these blessings onto us, right? They're giving us a body and they're protecting us from evil. Yeah, and unless, unlike them, Nanachi is actually free and has a proper life. And it's of wonderful value, right? Because it's very valuable to those who do not have it. It's very interesting because oftentimes once you lose something, that's only when you, like, that is the moment when you actually realize that that it's very valuable to you, or has been. And we do have that case of first of all, Reg being seen as value. I can very much understand that, right, as somewhat of a robot, both looking humanoid but at the same time not being, maybe being very strong, so them being very interested in it. Taste of your own medicine. That she's like, serves you the fuck right, Samamiro. And we have that really, really uncomfortable, almost gruesome scene of Minya being crushed by that thing, not dying, but probably being in a lot of pain, and Riko is very protective, and we managed to kind of fix her up a little bit, but she's right. I think that with like the intestines kind of coming out, that happens to birds, I can remember as well, like chickens or whatever. So I've seen that before, like in documentaries and whatnot in nature, but it's gonna be very painful, and there's a swelling, and then it's asked, what's the value? And Riko's like, how could I even answer that, right? How can I answer the value of a life, of a being that's very dear to me, even, right? And in this case, maybe it was somewhat of the wrong thing to say, because value is subjective here, and the balancing is gonna happen, and this thing, whatever it is gonna take everything from this individual, even down to the body parts, if the value of whatever they possessed isn't enough. Which yeah, I mean, gruesome in a way, right? Though we saw like the teddy bear was very important to it, probably some keepsake or whatnot, and then it's taken apart, right, ripping off the body parts, and so for what we see, it's not gonna die, which I can imagine that, right? They're all hollow, so it makes sense. It's just gonna regrow, but it's gonna be a lot of pain to them. So the punishment is pain, and maybe not the loss of body parts per se. Yeah, body parts are very, very valuable here. Or so it seems. And this is the value she got, and she's like, I don't know if I feel comfortable wanting it. And we see Riko once again using her intelligence and wit and whatever to kind of communicate with people, right? Get what she wants, be very proactive here, while the other ones are just like, I don't know how how to do it, and Rico's just going for it, right? She's like, come on, I'm gonna gesture, I'm gonna show it to you. And yeah, that's how you do it, right? If you meet somebody you can't really communicate with in terms of language, you're trying to kind of mimic certain actions to show them what you're looking for, and then maybe you can come to a common consensus. And sometimes you even learn words when you hear it, right? You repeat an action, and somebody says a word, and you're like, oh, this word, that's that, right? And that's how you kind of get close to understanding how which concept is what word, and you can slowly kind of piecemeal your way into finding out more about the language, in which context it's used, what's here for. Very imprecise, of course, in the beginning, but the more time you spend with it, I mean, and I can imagine that's probably how it worked back in the day, right? When you were meeting a new nation, or from a different part of the world, and you didn't have any understanding of the language they speak, but you kind of started to kind of draw pictures, right, and show actions, and you communicate in that way, and like that you can kind of come to a common understanding, which is why it's so important that we do have language scientists, academics that study linguistics and everything around that, to kind of get a better idea of, like, symbology too, get a better idea of how to communicate with one another, and maybe even, down the line, we don't know what's out there in the universe, communicate with other species as well that aren't on our planet. But yeah, we tried the soup, and Rico's like, it's gonna be fine, 𝐿𝐲 with this, and a couple of seconds later she's getting cramps. But apparently that's what always happened at the orphanage as well, that she was eating some shit that she shouldn't eat, and she's toughing it out. That's just how she is, and she accepts it because this is the consequences of her action. But she's resolute in accepting that, which I really like. We do have a commotion about Faputa being here. Apparently, value itself, I kind of didn't quite get that. Kind of have to read that. Faputa, embodiment of value, right? Princess of hollows, so to speak, like somebody of very high value within the community, who apparently, right, if you look at it, didn't take the deal to stay in this village, and as such, right, is able to move outside. Maybe she can't come in or something, but either way, what we do see is that large automaton that we already saw in the intro, which is very fascinating for me. I want to know what it is, how it works. It kind of is built up a little bit like Reg, not gonna lie. It's kind of looking a little bit like Reg on like a design level, right? You have that arm that has the orb inside that looks like it could be a laser. On the other hand, that's something that's kind of different, but even the modules look kind of the same, just bigger. We have some similar design things. Even interestingly enough, the symbol for value, I don't think that's a symbol for value though. Maybe it's a symbol for value. We'll have to see. But even like when you look at Reg's collar, he has these kind of handles. The automaton has that on top of its head, so it's very interesting. And like I said, she kind of looks like she kind of looks like birdish, right? Avian, in a way. It doesn't look like feathers, but it looks really avian in a lot of ways. And then we have those 3 crystals, whatever they mean in the end. But we do have a history here, because she was the little girl they took on the journey, the little native girl. And she was very close to our red-haired main character. I wonder where this red hair is now. And they actually met those automatons, which could be hollows too, right? This doesn't have to be like... They don't have to be necessarily just automatons. They could just be hollows, just like all the others. But I wonder how it works, right? Because for 𝐿𝐲, their body is actually just the vessel, while the actual physical body that they have is made out of odor. Ganja, a suicide squad that is in search of the Golden City. And they're looking for the Golden City. They're in awe, but they also see there are dangers down here that they didn't expect. Arduous adventure in sight. Well, the destination of our arduous adventure. We are still unable to find a way to survive. And that is a statement, right? Unable to find a way to survive. It means people died. Or at least, maybe they lost their humanity and became hollow. They're terrified. And it ends again! All of these cliffhangers, the little teases. Oh, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's just, we have to see next time, and that's just how it's gonna be. I'm excited every time we end one of these episodes to see how the next one's gonna turn out to be. It's really a very otherworldly and interesting journey throughout, and we have different themes that are always, right? We have themes that are always present, and we have different themes that are changing throughout the different episodes and kind of little story arcs and environments that we go through. And we obviously also have the continued theme of the parallels between now our progenitor group with the red-white-haired main protagonist, and our group of adventurers with Rico and Nanachi and Reg and Menya, and Prushka, once she's back with us. We have these parallels that always keep coming up, and obviously the character development of our main characters here. But that's it for episode 3 of season 2 of Made in Abyss. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be great if you leave a like. And if you don't want to miss any more videos, please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, you know the deal. I do have a Discord. Join the Discord if you want to discuss things, and if you want more of a direct channel and more of a spontaneous channel to talk to people surrounding my reactions, and also just people in general who are interested in all of these things that I'm discussing within my videos or even beyond that. I would also love if you checked out the Patreon. There's a lot of cool stuff, and anything that comes in terms of money and whatever, it goes back into the channel. I'm not going to use that to pay any personal bills, at least not at the moment. Once I have a little bit more, we can talk about that. But at the moment, it's just like it goes back into the channel by me saving up for equipment, like a new mic, a better camera, a second light, possibly, whatever, right? Stuff like that. Maybe even a green screen one of these days. I don't really need it, but it's cool to have it, right? To do just some weird, interesting shit and just be a little bit more creative with videos, even outside of reactions. And once it's more, I can obviously then contemplate if I want to give up my side job and just do this as my side job. So I can put more time into making this content, which I would very much like and appreciate, of course. But yeah, I'm gonna be seeing you on the next video, hopefully. If not, there's a lot of other stuff you can check out: Jujutsu Kaisen, Frieren, and maybe other stuff as well down the line, like movie reactions and whatever. It's gonna be every once in a while. Movies are a little bit hard because it's really tough to edit those. I might actually just throw the edited kind of style out the window for movies and just do a timer reaction thing for movies. That might be a cool thing to do. It's just gonna save me a lot of time, like it's gonna save me 3 or 4 days of editing that I can spend on editing and recording other things, or doing important live things as well. And you still get a pretty decent reaction. And the discussions are going to be here anyway all the time, so who cares, right? I don't know if you like that, or if you'd hate that or whatever. I've seen that the community is pretty split about edited reactions. Half of them really likes them, the other half's like, oh, I don't care much for them. I don't care either way, right? Or maybe one third, and then we have another third who is like, well, I'm really, or maybe less than a third who is like, I really don't like edited reactions. I know, for example, of 2 people that I've spoken to personally that I knew before I started a reaction channel, even, that were like, okay, I'm actually kind of generally not watching edited reactions. Oh, okay, that makes sense, kind of. But yeah, see you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful night whenever you watch this.